Good morning and welcome to State Senator Mike Jacobson, legislative candidate from District 42. Thank you, Senator Jacobson, for joining us for our virtual legislative candidate meetings. My name is Gina Ragland, and joining me today are AARP lead advocacy volunteers Susan DeCamp, Joyce Beck, and Danny DeLong. It's also my privilege to have with us today AARP Nebraska State President David Holmquist and Emily Wick is in our office helping with some of the behind the scenes with the recordings. Again, as a reminder, this meeting is being recorded and will be shared with our AARP members across your district prior to the election. So we're going to jump right in, Senator Jacobson, and we again appreciate your taking the time and spending the next 30 minutes with us to meet and discuss issues of importance to the 50+ voter and their families in your district and across Nebraska. As background, AARP is the nation's largest nonprofit, nonpartisan organization dedicated to empowering and strengthening people 50 and older to choose how they live as they age. As people live longer, healthier lives, we know we need to think differently about what it means to age. So, Senator, if you want to start off by giving us a little background about yourself and your campaign, maybe in a 5-minute or less synopsis, that would be great. And once we've completed that, then we'll kind of move into some of the questions that we've presented before you. So with that, I'll throw it back to you, Senator.
I'd be happy to. Thank you very much. And thank you for allowing me to get in front of all of your members and give you some positions and some thoughts that I have. You know, I grew up on a rented farm in Clay County, Nebraska. I had 7 brothers and sisters. To the shock of some people, we didn't have running water in the house when I was a kid. And so I understood what poverty was all about. I also learned a lot about hard work living on a farm. I always wanted to farm. That was always my career goal. And I ended up going to the University of Nebraska. I graduated with an ag economics, ag education, dual degree. Ended up coming back to the farm, which is what I wanted to do. But then I ended up taking a job as an ag teacher for 4 years. And then 4 years later, I got involved as an ag lender at a bank in Hastings, Nebraska, and that started my banking career, and that was 42 years ago. I ended up in North Platte working for First Commerce Bank Shares, and then left, put a group of people together and chartered Nebraska Land Bank in North Platte, and have been here now for 24 years. We'll have our 25th anniversary in May. It's been an interesting time over the years. I serve on the board of Great Plains Health, the hospital here in North Platte. I've been a board member there for a couple of years. I've learned a lot about healthcare. I've learned a lot about the challenges, reimbursement issues, and shortages, obviously. So I feel like I've gotten a pretty good taste of some of the problems that are out there. I was appointed by the governor to become the District 42 state legislator on the 23rd of February. So I do have 30 days in the legislature under my belt. Was able to not introduce any bills, but I was able to have co-sponsor and impact some interim studies and some legislation while I was there. I'm keenly aware of a number of the issues that you're facing as AARP members. As I travel the district, my District 42 includes North Platte, Lincoln County, the 4 counties north, which would be McPherson, Hooker, Thomas, and Logan, and also 3/4 of Perkins County. So it's a large district now. I've traveled the district. I've met with folks throughout the district. We are one of the districts that had a nursing home closure in Mullen, Nebraska. I'm fairly aware of the issues that were behind that closure, and I've been focused quite a bit on other steps we can take to fix that. When we kind of get into the questions, I'm going to start with a couple of themes that I think are going to carry where I see my direction going forward. And broadband is a big part of it because broadband impacts all of my constituents, but it particularly impacts healthcare and some things that can happen in healthcare with the technology that's going to be available. And I truly believe that technology is what's going to carry the day. I can tell you that in banking, I've watched how technology has caused us to become so much more efficient than we were at one time. We're seeing that in medicine today, and I see this as being very impactful for seniors in particular, with the kind of technology that's going to be available, provided that you've got broadband, a good solid broadband base to be connected. So that is one of the things I've looked at. I would also tell you that I was very active in the legislature this year on bills that would impact providers, because we all know that we've got significant provider shortages out there today. So I am on the ballot, November ballot, to serve the full 4 years moving forward, because the senator I replaced was term limited. I feel like I'd be a redshirt freshman next year going into the legislature, but I've made some great contacts. I knew a number of the senators before. I've got some pretty good experience going in the door, and I'm in a position to get on committees that will be impactful to District 42. And so I'm looking forward to serving 4 years going forward. So with that, I'll stop and I'll let you ask me any questions you want to ask.
Thank you, Senator, and thank you for the background, and again, appreciate all your work that you have done since the small time that you've been in the legislature. Moving into the questions, then, we have provided you ahead of time with a set of 3 issues that does contain 4 questions, again, pertaining to the 50+ in Nebraska. Again, we're looking to allot about 5 minutes for each of those questions. Our first question we're going to begin with is question 1, health, caregiving, and home and community-based services. And Susan DeCamp is going to take that question. So Susan, I'll turn it to you.
Okay. Good morning, Senator. Home and community-based services, also known as HCBS, provides an array of services designed to assist individuals with activities of daily living that promotes independence to support them to age in place or delay institutional care. A family caregiver is any family member, friend, or an acquaintance who cares for another person that is unable to live independently, and they often provide this care without pay. Telehealth services, and I know you already mentioned a little bit about that, can be significant for older adults in rural areas or underserved communities in particular, while also providing support to family caregivers by reducing travel, wait times, and costs associated with in-person care. So we have 2 questions for you along those lines. The first one is, what will you do to support the 240,000 unpaid family caregivers in Nebraska through policies such as enhanced respite services, access to telehealth, caregiver education and training, and help with out-of-pocket expenses? And the second question is, what will you do to protect and or expand the home and community-based services program, particularly recruitment and retention of a sufficient workforce and adequate funding of the services that Nebraskans and their families rely on?
Well, sure, and thank you for those questions. Well, let me just start a little bit with big picture. I think, first of all, we all know that coming through the pandemic, we have significant staffing shortages throughout every industry. And so that's a huge challenge. And so a big part of it is, and there isn't a constituency group out there that hasn't asked me about how do we find more workers. And so much of this is really holistic. As we start fixing certain pieces, we fix a lot more. When you start looking at the number of, when you look at nursing home closures, where do those folks have to go? Typically, we see children, adult children who are now quitting their jobs, staying home, taking care of either children or parents who no longer have nursing or assisted living access. That is causing a bigger problem, not only for the workforce as a whole, but it's an inefficient way to really provide that care. And you look at respite care, it becomes a full-time job. There needs to be an ability to take a break. I've got a staff member here who had a severely handicapped child at birth, was only expected to live a couple of years. She passed away in her late teens. And I will tell you that she did her own care at home, and this was intensive care. And I can tell you that she kept working and had someone there during the day, basically traded her salary at work to pay for that caregiver to be able to have some break along the way. So I can tell you that this is an issue. And I recognize that from a senior standpoint, we also have a housing problem out there today. And we end up with a number of elderly people that as we age, we lose a spouse, and our kids are gone, and now we're in a 3, 4, 5 bedroom home, and we're bouncing around that home, high utility bills. Some want to stay in that home they've always been in, but others would like to get into a home situation where you're around other seniors, you have other people you can talk to. It's a smaller setting, it's a safer setting, it's a newer setting, utility bills are less, and you can get access to other services. I believe that as we start solving some of these problems, we can kill multiple birds with one stone, so to speak. And I'm going to give you an example of a situation that we saw in a nursing facility that we financed several years ago. It was actually in West Virginia. And this was a facility where they were able to build they had senior living cottages, golf carts that could ride up to the main place. There was a nursing home, nursing facility, assisted living facility, a common dining facility, and you could move about that facility and move wherever you needed to within that community. And they had all the caregivers there. But when we start looking at the current situation, and particularly as it relates to telehealth, what I've learned from hospital seminars that we've been to is that technology is there today and is getting better. That when you think about your Apple Watch, and your Apple Watch, it's going to monitor for AFib, it's going to monitor for blood pressure, our heart rate, and they're getting them tuned up now to do blood pressure. What we're looking at is the technology will be there with broadband support to where you can wear a device, and this information can all go to a central computer that will analyze that information in real time and send a notice to your caregiver that this person is in distress or this person has this situation. It's giving you that early warning sign. So rather than you having to identify that you've got a problem and call someone, they're calling you to find out how you're doing. It's a way to monitor bulk numbers of people with fewer caregivers, because you're going to analyze this through the numbers through a computer that's driven from this device that you're wearing. Efficiencies is the way that we're going to be able to drive down those costs. When you look at the nursing home facilities, their problems have been the overhead of having to have an RN for a limited number of people there, and all the other costs associated with the regulations of a nursing home. We're driving that's keeping those costs high. So in order to get the costs down, we need to become more efficient. And I think use of technology will help us become much more efficient. And then if we can create these living facilities, these communities, if you will, that will free up housing for workforce and allow seniors to move into a facility to be around other people, their age, people with common interests. And then we can also have them connected with caregivers that will also relieve some of the need for the children of these parents to be giving them constant care at home. So I think that's where we're going to be moving in the future. As far as getting more caregivers, we have funded the training in Kearney, UNK to train more caregivers. As far as reimbursement rates are concerned, the governor, we did do a 15% additional increase in caregiver reimbursements, which I believe still is not going to be enough longer term. That was vetoed by the governor, and I was one of the senators that joined my other colleagues to override that veto and make sure that funding stayed in place. So I think those are some things that I think can happen moving forward that would assist in that area. We clearly are going to have to see provider rates go up, but we're also going to have to get efficiencies to bring the costs down. And if we can do those two, I think we can solve some of the problems we're dealing with today.
Great. Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Senator Jacobson. And you're nicely trickling into our next question, which is number 2 on nursing facility quality. And Joyce Beck is going to take that one. So Joyce, go ahead.
Over 20,000 Nebraskans require care in nursing facilities or assisted living communities. Facilities have closed their doors, citing reimbursement challenges and staffing shortages. Nebraska will need an additional 4,700 more nursing assistants, LPNs, and RNs by 2028 to meet Nebraska's care needs. Everyone, regardless of where they reside, deserves to be treated with dignity and respect and to have access to quality medical care. Better staff to resident ratios improve the quality of care and well-being of residents. Workforce recruitment, retention, and job satisfaction challenges are prevalent across long-term care services and support industries. Causes of workforce challenges must be identified and implemented to respond to the growing need for high-quality care. So my question for you is this: what would you do to improve the quality of nursing facility care for Nebraska residents, including addressing the growing long-term care workforce crisis in the state, professional education and training, and accountable facility reimbursement?
Well, again, thank you for the question. I would tell you kind of a little bit in reverse order. I would tell you that provider reimbursement rates really are going to need to move higher. I don't think there's any way around that. I know we just got our new health insurance premium adjustments, and we're looking at a 9% increase year over year. 6.5% of that is just medical inflation. So when you look at current inflation rates, we had the problem before inflation took off, but now with the rampant inflation, this problem went from a horrible problem to really a serious problem that's going to be much more difficult to deal with. Part of it's going to be done through reimbursement increases. Part of it's going to be done by providing more training, better training. And that's why I was so supportive of the UNK facility, nursing facility there, because what I've learned is if you're trying to bring people to rural Nebraska, and particularly the western half and the western third of the state, it's hard to attract people here. But if they go to a college and get their training closer to this area, they're more likely to stay in this area after they graduate. So if we do all of our training in the eastern end of the state, it's going to be a difficult sell to get those individuals to move west and come out here. So the closer we can get them to this end of the state, Kearney, UNK with their facility, Mid-Plains Community College, of course, has their nursing program here as well. Most all of those nurses are being hired by the local hospital here. So in my mind, as I look at, for example, the Mullen facility, how do you operate a nursing facility that's of that size and then provide and comply with all the regulations that are out there? I think we need to use a combination of the technology that I discussed before to be able to lower not have to have an RN there 24/7, 365, but have someone there that's got medical training and can get access telephonically to be able to work with that care. If we're caregiving at home, we're not RNs, we're not medically trained. So we seem to go from no training required at home to significant training requirements in the nursing facility, and we make the nursing facility unaffordable and make it unable to operate because that overhead cost gets so high. So we've got to be able to figure out how to lower those overhead costs. And I think telehealth is, of course, one way to do it. And that means that we need to have caregivers there, but caregivers doing basic care that aren't requiring to have the same level of training, and then having access to that higher level of training telephonically through telehealth to be able to operate those facilities cost effectively. And then we've got to, of course, increase reimbursement rates as well. That combination, I think, will allow more of our smaller nursing facilities in rural Nebraska to remain open or to reopen. But I think as far as the workforce development, it's going to take time to do it, but having those facilities available, also providing scholarships. We've got the AARP program for doctors. We need to do the same kind of thing, I think, for healthcare workers to provide that training at a very low cost, particularly if they're willing to come into rural areas and work. So those are the ways that I would probably approach it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. And moving on then, just in the interest of time, our final question for discussion today, it centers around helping people stay in their homes, livable communities and such. And I know you've kind of touched a little bit on this, but I'm going to throw it over to Danny DeLong, our volunteer, to take this one.
Good morning, Senator. Glad to see you again. We worked with you last year and we're glad you're back at it and thank you for being here. A livable community is what many of our people say they want to live in. And mainly what we see is that almost all people say they want to age in place. That's kind of the foundation for what we've been talking about today. And so a livable community offers several features for its residents. One, it's safe and secure. Two, it offers affordable housing and transportation options that allow individuals to travel by multiple means and providers, and it provides supportive community features and services such as access to healthcare and high-speed internet, which allows them to remain in their communities as they age. Affordable transit options are critical to support older Nebraskans aging in place. High-speed internet should be affordable, reliable, and accessible for all Nebraskans. Digital skills development, or as we call it, digital literacy, is also essential to obtaining the benefits of high-speed internet access in the home. And these are issues that you've already addressed. We're right with you there. Our question is this: what will you do to ensure all Nebraskans, mainly those 50 plus, have access to livable communities which offer affordable housing, diverse transportation options, adequate health care, and affordable, reliable, and accessible high-speed internet, including digital skills development?
Sure. Well, thank you again for the question, and great seeing you again as well. Again, let me start a little bit in reverse order. As it relates to broadband access, as you know, there's literally billions of dollars that are floating around that are coming, a lot of it coming to Nebraska to help with that build out. I've already been in contact with all the broadband providers in District 42 and in terms of getting an update on where they at on building out broadband. And not only broadband, when I say broadband, I am also referring to cellular phone services, which if anybody's driven from North Platte to Mullen on Highway 97, nothing's changed in terms of if you can get 5 minutes on your cell phone, I'd like to know where you found that spot. Okay. So, but I would tell you that let's take, for example, Consolidated Companies up in Hooker County. Consolidated Companies at this point have now delivered fiber to every ranch in every part of the county of Hooker County. And they, by the end of the year, will have connected every home in Mullen with broadband, fiber, high-speed broadband. They are continuing across the district. I've been talking to Great Plains. They're doing the same thing as you look at Sutherland and this part of the county or this part of the district. So with the money's out there. I'm continuing to push on them to make sure that they prioritize this district to get that built out, because I absolutely believe that broadband is critical. It's the backbone to making all the rest of this work. Once you have broadband, telehealth becomes much more effective and workable. People can be in their homes, safely be there to communicate. And so I think it all begins there. I also recognize that my mother-in-law is 93 and she lives on her own yet in Wilbur. And she lives in a duplex there. And And when they sold that duplex, the rest of the family, us kids got together and bought the unit so that she didn't have to move, because we knew it was important for her to stay there. I truly understand that. And I believe that most people I look at up in Mullen as an example, there are people in bigger homes there that would probably be willing to move into a smaller unit as long as they could stay in Mullen, be around their family and their friends, go to their church, do the things that they've done before. And if we can do that, we can free up housing for workforce up there. We can get them into a safer unit that's smaller, lower utility costs, and more fit for their needs than an older home that they've been in today. But that lets them stay in the community that they've lived in all their life. And so that's going to mean continuing to work on housing programs like the workforce housing bill that we passed this last year in the legislature, expanding the dollars that were available, expanding the limits there so that we can make that work as well. I've been talking to all the villages in the district about their need to build out housing. We need new housing stock. We're going to need to do that through some tax credit programs, tax increment financing, and other programs that yet to be developed that will make building housing affordable, making affordable housing in these villages. We've got to stop the outflow and the out-migration of our residents from the District 42 that are moving to Lincoln, Omaha, and outside the state because they can't find affordable housing, because they can't have quality broadband, can't have quality health care. I'd also tell you that that Great Plains Health has outreach clinics. We're continuing to add more outreach clinics into the villages in District 42. Again, being able to provide those healthcare services so that you don't have to travel to North Platte to be seen. You can actually see a physician in those communities and these outreach clinics. But I also believe, as I said before, that having this technology available, and I'm talking about like the Apple Watch type, but it would be a different kind of device to be able to monitor that for those who choose to go that route. We can monitor their healthcare situation and be able to alert people that they need help, they need to be talked to, they need to be brought to hospital, whatever the case may be. I think this is going to allow people to stay in their homes longer, stay in their communities longer, and live a healthier and better life.
Thank you, Senator Jacobson, and I appreciate your thoughts and comments on that. And again, the three questions that we've given you obviously kind of all work together, and I think you've done a great job of providing a synopsis on that. As we come to the end of our meeting, we have a couple of minutes left remaining in our 30 minutes, but I would like to give you the final couple minutes again to offer any closing thoughts, comments, or anything you might want to have for messaging to your constituents as you go into the November election.
Sure. Well, thank you for that. I think what I would tell you is a lot of people say, Mike, you've got the experience. You're in an age now, you've been 42 years in banking, you've been in teaching, you've been on heavily involved in economic development. I served as chairman of the North Platte Airport Authority to bring SkyWest Airlines here. I was on the chair of the Community Redevelopment Authority for 24 years. We brought in Walmart Food Distribution Center, Menards, a number of other major economic development projects. So certainly I've got a lot of background and experience, but more importantly, I'm someone that gets results. When the governor interviewed me and encouraged me to throw my hat in the ring to serve in this role, the governor made it clear that, Mike, you have a track record of getting things done. And you've complained to me in the past that District 42 has been all too often left behind. So if you want to make a difference, here's your opportunity. Accept this appointment, come down the Nebraska Legislature, make it happen. I've taken up that challenge, and I've already made an impact in the time that I've been there, but give me 4 more years and I'll make a huge impact. This is not a stepping stone for me, not looking at any other elected office. This will be the last elected office I serve in. I was elected to the Airport Authority, and now will be elected to the Legislature. My focus will be District 42, making life better for the residents here. I think I've got the background, the knowledge, and the proven results to deliver for the constituents in District 42. And I'm obviously at a point where I'm keenly aware of issues that your members are experiencing, because I'm starting to experience a few of those myself. So one thing you can count on is I will be a staunch supporter of all of my constituents, but particularly I'm keenly aware of the issues that your organization is faced with and your members are faced with. So thank you again for the time.
Thank
Thank
you,
you.
Senator Jacobson.
Thank you, Senator.
We appreciate you taking the time to visit with us. We wish you the best with your campaign. And thank you again for meeting with AARP today.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank
Bye,
you.
Senator.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Senator.